Universe to Metaverse. A Love Story from Soil to Silicon. Author Bachi. Narrator Smita Singh. In a world brimming with technology, we often forget the timeless threads that connect our souls, love, memory, and destiny. This story is a journey through dimensions, not just of space and time, but of consciousness. It is a story where ancient ruins meet futuristic realities, where a simple locket holds the weight of many lifetimes, and where a house once left unfinished may hold the key to eternal connection. Universe to Metaverse is not merely a love story. It is a reminder that our essence cannot be bound by flesh or time. That perhaps, love, true love, isn't just a fleeting moment in a single life, but a continuum carried across centuries, eternities, and realities yet to be imagined. This tale blends the mystical with the modern, the spiritual with the scientific. It invites you to ask, what if we could transcend the limits of our bodies? What if the person you love has always been with you, in forms you've long forgotten? As you read this book, let your heart lead the way. Let yourself believe, if only for a while, that the impossible might be a memory waiting to be unlocked. Welcome to the journey. Chapter 1: The Locket. The city of San Francisco shimmered with the light of innovation. Neon hues glinted off glass towers, and electric cars hummed silently along the streets. Inside the grand ballroom of the Argentum Convention Center, the air crackled with anticipation, caffeine, and code. Alav Mehta stood by the window wall, sipping on a scotch, his eyes scanning the cityscape beyond the digital displays. At 34, he had everything the world admired, an award-winning tech startup in quantum computing, VC firms at his feet, and enough speaking invitations to fill a decade. Yet something remained missing. Something he couldn't name. The AI and Metaverse Symposium had drawn the world's best minds, physicists, neuroscientists, developers, ethicists. But tonight, it wasn't the tech that had his attention. It was her. Kaya entered the ballroom like a ripple through still water. Not ostentatious, not loud, just something about her presence turned heads. Her auburn hair was pinned loosely, curls escaping to frame sharp, inquisitive eyes. She wore a minimalist black dress, but the aura she exuded was anything but simple. Alav first noticed her during the closing keynote when she posed a question that silenced the room. Her voice was calm, almost hypnotic. If AI can mimic human thought, what if it could evolve to host our consciousness? Could we transcend mortality, not as data, but as sentient light? That one question lingered like perfume in the corridors. Now, hours later at the after-party, she stood surrounded by curious minds, animatedly discussing philosophy, quantum entanglement, and virtual neural layering. Alav wasn't the kind to insert himself into conversations just to be seen. But something tugged at him. A pull. An itch in his mind. I've met her before, but where? He finally approached as the group began to thin. Kaya, right? He asked, offering a hand. Arav Mehta. I know, she said with a smile. The quantum guy. Your startup's in every AI digest I read. He chuckled. That's either a good thing or a sign that I talk too much. She tilted her head. You listen more than most. I noticed that today. That surprised him. Few people ever said that. They talked, first about the metaverse, then about philosophy, then art, then ancient civilizations, as the crowd around them dissolved. Their dialogue wasn't just intellectual, it danced. It flirted. It felt like two old souls unearthing memories buried beneath data and doubt. Kaya's eyes sparkled as she spoke of a metaverse not just as an escape, but as an evolution. A place, she whispered, where we are not limited by cells or scars. A space where the soul could finally be free. Arav leaned closer. And what would you take with you, if your soul could carry just one thing? Kaya paused. Her smile softened, becoming something more private. Love, she said. If it's real, it would survive anything. There was a sudden stillness in the air between them. Unspoken but undeniable. As if the cosmos had inhaled in expectation. Arav reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. She didn't move away. Their lips met, soft at first, then hungry, as though trying to remember something they once knew. The world fell away. Music, lights, clinking glasses, all faded. Only sensation remained. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, Kaya's gaze had changed. You felt that too, didn't you? She murmured. He nodded, unable to speak. Then, just as abruptly, her expression shifted, confused, almost scared. I have to go, she whispered, touching the locket around her neck. I'll see you tomorrow. But she didn't wait for a reply. She vanished into the crowd, leaving Arav standing there, stunned and alone. He returned to his hotel room long after midnight, the kiss still ghosting his lips. He tried to focus, check emails, skim through a VR paper Kaya had co-authored. But something didn't sit right. At 2:17 a.m., there was a knock at the door. He opened it to find no one, but a small, velvet pouch lay at his feet. Inside it, a vintage gold locket. Intricate etchings on the surface. And inside, a faded photograph of an old stone house by a cliffside. Greek, maybe Italian. The ink at the bottom had almost faded, but he could still make out the words. The house we never finished. Arav sunk onto the bed, staring at the photo. His heart thudded wildly. He had seen that house before. In dreams. In flashes. In childhood sketches he thought he'd imagined. He didn't know how. Or why. But the locket hummed faintly in his palm, like it remembered him. That night, Arav dreamt. He stood on a wind-swept hill, facing the sea. Waves roared below. A woman, her face blurred, her voice familiar, stood beside him, holding his hand. They were building something together, laying stones, whispering promises. I'll find you again, she said, voice breaking. No matter how long it takes. He reached for her. But she faded with the dawn. Morning came with a strange clarity. Kaya was gone, her number disconnected, her hotel room empty. No one at the conference remembered her last name. It was as if she had never been there at all. Arav stared at the locket again. Not just a mystery. Not just a memory. A portal. That day, he booked a one-way ticket to Crete. Somewhere between past and future, logic and longing, something had begun. Something ancient. Something eternal. The first spark had been lit. Chapter 2, To Spiti po den Teliosame. Arav hadn't slept properly in days. Jet-lagged and emotionally untethered, he sat on the terrace of a tiny cliffside cafe in Chania, Crete, nursing a bitter espresso. Below, the sea was endless, and somewhere across that vast blue, time felt like it had looped back on itself. The locket was heavy in his pocket, not just in weight, but in presence. Every time he touched it, his pulse responded. Every time he closed his eyes, she was there. Kaya. But not just Kaya. She had started to appear in his dreams wearing robes of ancient linen, adorned in gold like a queen of forgotten worlds, then as a nomadic healer beneath desert stars, then as a scientist in a smoky lab, decoding time itself. Always her eyes. Always the same intensity. Each night, the dreams grew more vivid, more specific. He would wake with strange symbols in his head, names in languages he had never learned. Scents of sandalwood, rain-soaked stone, burnt parchment. And always, always, that unfinished house. Stone walls standing tall but roofless. A mosaic pathway half-lit. A carved doorway that led nowhere. The house we never finished. He had to understand it. He'd scoured the internet until his eyes blurred. Blogs, ancient Greek myths, obscure Reddit forums. Finally, he came across a half-forgotten legend, archived in a museum blog written by a cultural historian. It spoke of to Spitipo den Teleosem, a myth that circulated in fragments across different Greek islands. A tale of two lovers, Elian and Thaleia, who began building a home atop the cliffs of Crete. They were architects, dreamers. They carved their story into stone with every step. But before they could finish, war came. Elian was taken. Thaleia waited. Years passed. The house remained half-built, like a promise interrupted. The tale ended abruptly, as most myths do, but something about it felt uncannily close to Arav's current obsession. Could it be a coincidence? Or was it memory? Arav stood later that afternoon before the ruins of an old house at the edge of a cliff, the locket growing warmer against his chest. It wasn't tourist-marked. It didn't appear on maps. He'd followed instinct, more like intuition, to find it. Weather-worn stone walls stood proud in spite of erosion. The air was charged. He stepped inside and froze. The layout matched the one in his dreams. The front doorway framed the sea perfectly. 3 steps led down into what might have been a garden. And there, in the far left corner, was the beginning of a mosaic, just as he dreamt, a spiral of blue and gold tiles that seemed to hum with forgotten purpose. His knees gave way. He knelt and touched the tiles. Images flooded his mind, Kaya standing right there, her laughter echoing across the stone, hair blowing wildly in the wind. Her hands gripping his. Her lips mouthing words he couldn't quite recall. He stayed there until the sun dipped low. That night, in his small rented villa, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Arav. Her voice. Kaya, he breathed. Where are you? There was a pause. A sigh. I don't know what's happening to me, she said quietly. I haven't been able to sleep. I see us, in places that don't exist. Wearing clothes I've never worn. Loving in times I've never lived. And that house, the house in the photo. I found it, he interrupted. It's real. Another pause. I'm coming to Crete. She arrived the next afternoon. No grand reunion. No cinematic music. Just eyes that locked like magnets. No questions were asked. They didn't need to be. That evening, they walked the winding alleys of Chania together, the city alive with lanterns and laughter, but their world silent and slow. She clung to his arm like she'd always belonged there. He looked at her like he was afraid she'd vanish again. After dinner, they returned to his villa. Rain began falling, unexpectedly, as if nature itself wanted to cocoon them in solitude. Inside, she moved to the balcony, watching the raindrops blur the sea's edges. It's strange, she murmured. I know I've been here before. But not in this life. He came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Then maybe this is the life where we finally remember. She turned. Her eyes searched his. I've seen you die, Arav. In every version of the past that lives in my mind. You leave. Or war comes. Or I disappear. He touched her face gently. Then let this be the version where we win. They kissed, and it was nothing like the party. This was deeper. Desperate. She gripped his shirt, and he lifted her into his arms. Clothes fell. Bodies aligned. And as they made love, it wasn't to strangers discovering each other, it was to ancient souls finally returning. In that dim room, their shadows danced on the walls like echoes of 1,000 lives. They moved like they'd done this before, every breath, every touch, every soft cry a verse in a poem their hearts had written long ago. Afterward, they lay entangled, her head on his chest. There's more to this, she whispered. It's not just dreams. It's like fragments of us are scattered across time. And something, Arav added, is trying to pull them back together. Kaya lifted her head and looked at the locket resting on his nightstand. It's not just a key to a memory. It's a compass. To what? He asked. To the truth, she said. Of who we were. And what we are meant to be. That night, the dream changed. This time, they stood not by a house, but in a grand temple lit by starlight. Their hands touched a glowing orb. People surrounded them, chanting. A voice rang through Arav's mind, both ancient and mechanical. Two souls. One pattern. One destiny. Through flesh, through code, through time itself. He woke, heart racing. Kaya stirred beside him. I heard it too. They looked at each other, the weight of something cosmic between them. They were no longer chasing love. They were rediscovering it. Across dimensions. Across centuries. And someone, didn't want them to succeed. Chapter 3, To Phylacto. The morning sun filtered softly through the sheer linen curtains, painting golden streaks on Kaya's bare shoulder as she sat curled by the window. She held the locket in her palm, eyes lost in the glinting silver and the intricate design etched into its surface, a spiral of stars converging at a single point. Arav stirred behind her, his voice still husky with sleep. Can't sleep. She turned to him with a smile, but her gaze was far away. This locket. It's not just some mysterious artifact. It belonged to my grandmother. Or at least, that's the story passed down in my family. I always thought it was just a romantic tale. He sat up, suddenly alert. You've seen it before? Yes, she said softly. My grandmother used to wear it. She said it was a gift from her great-grandmother, and so on. They called it to Phylacto, which means the talisman. She told me it was a symbol of eternal love. That it would always find its way back to the ones destined to be together. She turned the locket over in her hand. But I never opened it. Until you showed it to me, I never even knew it could open. Arav got out of bed and joined her at the window, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. It opened for me. When I touched it, I felt something shift. Like I stepped into a forgotten story. She looked up at him, their eyes locking in a moment thick with unsaid emotions. Maybe you did. Later that afternoon, they boarded a ferry to a small island off the coast of Crete. The island didn't even have a proper name. Locals referred to it simply as Nisitiskias, the Island of Shadows. According to an obscure journal entry Kaya had found online, it had once been home to a secret sect of philosopher priests who believed in reincarnation and cosmic memory. It sounded like folklore, but neither of them were in a position to dismiss signs anymore. As the boat neared the island, the locket resting against Kaya's chest began to hum softly. They exchanged a glance. The moment they stepped onto the island, the air felt different, thicker, heavier, like time itself was layered around them. The ground beneath their feet was lined with worn cobblestones, partially overtaken by moss, leading to an overgrown path that disappeared into an olive grove. Bird song quieted. The breeze stopped. Then, the locket began to glow. Arav reached for it, and the light pulsed under his touch. "What is this place?" he whispered. Kaya's voice was barely audible. "I don't know. But it knows us." They followed the path in silence until they reached the ruins of what might have once been a small temple. Columns lay scattered, cracked by centuries of weather. Vines had claimed the marble, but hints of ancient artistry peeked through, carvings of twin figures holding hands beneath a star. Kaya brushed dust off one of the stones. "Look at this." The carving showed a woman and a man, seated under a crescent moon, their foreheads touching. Between them, the same spiral symbol that adorned the locket. Arav swallowed. "It's us." Just then, a gust of wind blew open a hidden compartment in a nearby altar. Tucked inside was an aged scroll, bound in gold thread and sealed with a familiar insignia, the spiral again. Kaya's hands trembled as she broke the seal. The manuscript was written in archaic Greek, but Kaya, who had studied classical languages during her early academic years, slowly translated it aloud. It spoke of two souls, Elyon and Thaleia, once architects of dreams and seekers of truth. Their love defied war, kingdoms, and even death. They were bound not by blood or body, but by purpose. Together, they built the Temple of Continuum, Kaya read. A place where memory would be etched into the fabric of time, and love would reincarnate until the soul's journey reached its end. Arav took a deep breath. This isn't just a coincidence anymore. Kaya looked up at him, her eyes wide with awe and fear. "We are not just lovers. We are carriers of a legacy." That night, they camped near the temple ruins under a blanket of stars. The Mediterranean sky was crystal clear, constellations blazing above them like ancient gods watching over their reunion. Arav lay beside Kaya, their bodies close, their hands intertwined. "Do you believe it?" he asked, his voice soft. "I do," she said. "Not because of the stories. Not because of the locket. But because when I look at you, I feel everything, grief, joy, longing, love, like we've done this 1,000 times before." He leaned in and kissed her. Gently at first, then deeper, tasting the ages between them. They made love beneath the open sky, the stars bearing silent witness to a passion older than lifetimes. There was no urgency, only reverence. Their movements were slow, exploratory, and full of recognition. As if each touch was a remembering. Kaya whispered his name like a prayer. Arav held her like a man afraid to lose time again. And for a moment, time did seem to pause. The air thickened. The fire crackled. The ruins glowed faintly around them. When they finally lay still, breathless and tangled, Kaya rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "I think we are waking up to something bigger than just us," she murmured. "Something cosmic," Arav agreed. "But it started with love." In the early hours of dawn, they returned to the altar and examined the manuscript again. At the very end was a line, barely legible. "When the spiral glows once more, the gateway will open. Only love, remembered and unbroken, shall pass." Kaya looked at him. "What gateway?" Arav touched the spiral carved into the locket, now dormant again. "Maybe a portal? To the next phase." She exhaled slowly. "The metaverse." Arav raised an eyebrow. "You think this all connects to technology?" Kaya nodded. Or consciousness, layered across dimensions. What if the metaverse isn't just a digital space? What if it's a return to our essence? What if every version of us is stored, like data waiting to be recalled? Arav smiled. So we're rebooting our souls? She laughed, but her eyes were serious. Maybe. Or finally upgrading. They stood together on the ruins, wind catching their hair, eyes fixed on the horizon. The past was no longer just history. It was a key. And they had just begun to turn the lock.